Money's been going into Europe. Debt brake has gotten lifted. China, still a lot of excitement over DeepSeek, right? Meantime, money has left India, where you just got back from, right? The market is off. It's lost about $1 trillion since peaking just a couple of months ago. Right. But you were still excited.
Long term, we're still very constructive on India. What's interesting is when the markets are rallying, people tend to sit on cash, and the feeling is things look expensive. We'll wait for the dip. This is more than just a dip. The market's off 20% nearly from the highs of September. Small caps are down 30 to 40%. And so then this is a test of who really is a long-term investor, because we see opportunities across sector. Our name count remains lower. It's the lowest it's been in the last few years, and we have added some capital back. We've been fully deployed, but we've concentrated even further into names that we have already owned, rather than adding a lot of new names. The list of reasons for why the market has been selling off are well cataloged, but it's been about 6 months now. The retail flows had been very high last year. Expectations had been high. And in Asia, the Japan story had been playing out for a while. China had not yet taken off. At the same time, in September, that China started to rally, and Japan maintained its momentum. The India story slowed down. The overall growth slowed down. Retail flows slowed down.
I got to ask. I mean, you can never time the bottom, right? It's a fool's task to try. We talked to a guest earlier yesterday, in fact, about money flows into the Indian market, and he was saying that, look, everybody's left except for the retail investors, right? When they exit, that's probably the bottom. Agreed?
Probably, and we see that in small caps. We're seeing names that were down 40, 50% a few weeks ago. They're starting to recover. Large caps, our view on small caps, it's in India over time. You'll see that it's always the time for small caps. This year in particular, though, large caps have done well, not just in stock price performance, but in execution, which signals to us that the long-term India growth story is still very much intact. The growth might not be X, it might be 90% of X, but it's still much higher than anywhere else in the world.
Vikas, what do you make of this turn lower in the dollar, and is that going to work in favour of emerging market trades?
So we're seeing that when the dollar started turning lower, you started seeing some recovery in India, some of the other emerging markets. Perhaps not in Southeast Asia. Thailand is a separate story. We can talk about that later. There are reasons to be hopeful there. But emerging markets, yes, they should be supported by this. And some of the things that we talked about earlier, topics we touched on the foreign creditors of the U.S., what happens there? You're starting to see that priced in. What happens when people not only stop buying at the same pace that they used to, but start selling some of what they hold? I think that's starting to creep into the market as well.